Hi, it's Caroline Stephen, financial journalist. Our guest on Talking Trading today is Bushy Martin, investor, author, and founder of Know How Group and the host of the Get Invested podcast. Today, Bushy and I discuss sustainable success, what that looks like by creating wealth by stealth so you live by design and not by default. Bushy was an award-winning architect who designed sails in the desert out at Uluru. And he's since become an active equities and property investor, and he found his formula to create wealth, and he now helps other people do the same. Today we talk about Bushy's freedom formula and his wealth vitamins and what they stand for, as well as TLC, time, leverage, and compounding. You'll love Bushy's acronyms. Here is part one of his interview on how to be a successful investor and build a passive income. But first on the show, here is Louise Bedford today with our unsung hero, Peter Holzman.
Our unsung hero for today is Peter Holzman. Peter, that very first time you came to see me and Chris Tate to show us your trading plan, which was about 55 pages long, full of contradictions, very confusing, and certainly something nobody could duplicate, where you looked at me and you said, "I'll trade this, I think this is good enough." And I said to you, "Peter, this is nowhere near good enough." Sometimes mentoring requires a bit of tough love. You took on all of our suggestions, you implemented our ideas, you resiliently decided to sit with that discomfort when I handed you back that trading plan full of red marks, saying you need to improve this, you need to improve this. And then you prepared a 12-page trading plan that was simple and clear and easy to follow. And nestled within that trading plan was your trading system, with your entry, your exit, and your position sizing. So simple that another trader could follow it. And that, my friends, is the goal. Peter Holzman, you did that and more because you found your sweet spot in the markets. You found by trading weekly charts, that was where the money was for you. And you decided to ignore all of the kerfuffle about 4-hourly systems, minute systems, 2-minute systems in every market because you knew that they weren't for you. You are our unsung hero, Peter Holzman, for today. Know in your heart that Chris Tate and I want the best for you.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Alexander Newsom, and I listen to Caroline at Talking Trading.
Bushy Martin, you're an active property and equities investor. You are also an author and founder of Know How Group. Bushy, hello and welcome to Talking Trading.
Hey, Caroline, I'm very humbled to be in your presence. I've had immense respect for yourself and Chris Tate and Louise Bedford for many years. I'm a big fan of your podcast, which I reckon is one of the pioneers in the space. It's nearly 7 years now, I think, from memory. So very humbled to be on board and having a chat today, Caroline.
Bushy, thank you. That's lovely. What a beautiful way to start an interview. Let me give some interesting facts about you. Number one, your family were convict first fleeters, and you're the oldest son of 7 generations of older sons. And these generations have never had a daughter. Number two, you're an award-winning architect of 20 years before you became a full-time investor. And number three, you are the proud owner of 3 dogs. Bushy, tell us about some of these interesting facts.
Yeah, well, the old first one was a bit of a shock to the family. My good grandmother was an absolute staunch royalist, Caroline. So, that was always, cucumber sandwiches and high tea in the afternoon. And when my good father did the homework to discover that we came out to Australia under the deck in chains,
oh my God,
absolute disgrace for my grandmother, but very interesting background. I've got to share this story with you because we are actually members of the First Fleeters Club. If you can sort of run your lineage back, then you actually get a certificate saying you're a First Fleeter. But our original ancestor who came out here, who ended up in Port Arthur, Elizabeth Cole, she was very entrepreneurial. So perhaps it's rubbed off through the generations, but in those days, if you were prepared to stay in the colonies, they gave you, I think it was £350 and some acreage. So being the very clever person that she was, she turned over 3 husbands and grew quite a big portfolio of investments and real estate. So perhaps it's in the blood, Caroline.
Bushy, what is the essence of the freedom formula?
Yeah, so the Freedom Formula is the book that I've written about the journey that we've been through, and there's about 1,700 other investors that we've been assisted along the journey over the last 15 to 20 years. And it's really the culmination of the steps that we've taken ourselves through to achieve the lifestyle that we now enjoy, and helping a lot of other time-poor professionals and hard-working Aussies to do the same. And the Freedom Formula really boils down to 8 key principles that I think are the foundation of any trader or any investor. And they're quite universal. And each of those 8 principles are what I like to refer to as the preventative wealth vitamins. And you've probably heard of the concept of preventative health. You're across that? Yeah.
Yes.
Where you're basically doing things today that are going to prevent things happening tomorrow. It's about taking regular supplements that are going to improve your health long term. Preventative wealth is exactly the same thing. It's what are we doing today, and what happy habits and daily disciplines are we developing?
What happy habits? I love this. What happy habits? What happy habits are you doing, Bushy?
Well, yeah, happy habits. Perhaps I'll break down what I think the key to success is, because it's taken me a long time to learn this, and I reckon I've made every conceivable mistake that you can possibly make, Caroline.
This is reassuring and heartening. This is what we want from an investor, someone who's been around the block.
I've been beaten around a few times and got plenty of blood noses. Don't you worry about that. But I guess what I've learned is that sustainable success, and I underline the word sustainable, is the intersection of self, health, and wealth. And you can't have one without the other two. So, if we start with self, it's all about your mindset and your subconscious thinking and your belief system. And that's the hardest bit. That's the bit that very few of us spend any time looking at. So one of the things I did when things went to poo for me 25 odd years ago, I recognized that every mistake that I make is because of something that I've done. It's not about someone else. Aussies are very quick to point the finger at other things or other situations. So I'm sitting here with a computer, and I've got a mirror on the wall just beside me. And that mirror reminds me that everything I do and every result I get is a reflection of my thinking and my actions. So really getting clear on yourself and working on yourself, because success isn't an event. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency, and it's about the long term, and it's about who you become on the journey to becoming and growing yourself into an investor. It's what I think Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about when he says that to change your personal reality, you need to change your personality. To change your personality, you need to change your energy, you need to change your thinking, and that transforms into actions. And it's very much about getting really crystal clear on your perfect lifestyle in the future. So as an architect, I find it very easy to visualize things. So I spent a lot of time 25 years ago getting absolutely crystal clear on exactly how Sonia and I, that's my partner, want to live. And all we've done since then is worked on making that happen, because that vision becomes both the magnet and the compass. And if that vision is strong and vivid enough, then it acts as a magnet in terms of allowing us to ride over the inevitable speed bumps and lumps that we hit on the journey. But it also provides a compass in that it makes sure that every decision we make day to day is looked at in terms of, is it taking me closer to where I want to be or further away? So getting really crystal clear on that is absolutely key. And that folds into the health component. So get yourself right as far as self is concerned, then worry about your health, because health is where you actually develop those daily disciplines that I'm talking about. It's the things you do day to day. You don't get fit by going to the gym once a month and do it for 9 hours. You get fit by spending 20 minutes a day, every day, getting yourself into shape. And it's the mental disciplines that develops that then allows you to have the outlook to be able to achieve wealth long term. So I often say you've got to give yourself lots of TLC. And TLC, yes, it's tender loving care in terms of yourself. It's about trust, loyalty, and confidence that comes with your health. And then, and only then, you can use TLC in terms of embracing time, leverage, and compounding to achieve the sorts of results that you want in investing. So you'll get sick of my acronyms because I've got a very bad memory, and it's the only way I remember stuff, Caroline. If that rolls into the preventative wealth vitamins, those vitamins, each of those letters represents a key principle in relation to investing. So if I break it down quickly, the V stands for value. So the value is getting clear on your own self-value, but also understanding what value do you start with. So what's your trading float if we're investing in equities? What is the level of equity I can contribute if I'm wanting to buy property? So value is the starting point, because that has a big impact on the sort of trading system or investment strategy you're going to adopt. The I is for the interest rate of growth, because, and I'll come back to this later, but the rate of growth often for initial investors is really important, because if we're trying to create a passive income that's going to fund our lifestyle, then that rate of growth becomes really key in terms of growing your nest egg. And then the next key element is time. And what I mean by that is that in my own experience, and if I look at every successful, sustainable investor that's ever lived, it's always taken a minimum of 10, more likely 15, and quite often 20 years before they achieve that sustainable success. And that sustainable success and that exponential curve that occurs with that happens in just about every endeavor, from planting a tree to our own human growth from child to adult, to successful sports people, to business people, to trading investment. That journey of 15 to 20 years is really consistent as an exponential growth curve. And that growth curve is not so much about what we're doing, but who we're becoming on that journey. So that time aspect is really key. And it's also about recognizing that you need to make time, to use the time to get your time back. Because ultimately, the reason I invest is to have the time to be able to then put into other things, so that my income's not relying on me to generate. And that's a simple reason that I trade and invest. It's no bigger than that. The A then, so those first three are what I call the setup principles. The last five are what I call sustainability factors. And the first of those is affordability. So what I find with a lot of traders and investors, they don't think about the ongoing affordability of what they're doing. So
Yes.
in the trading environment, they'll risk too much on a trade and they'll take themselves out of the game, so they can't afford to do it. In property, they don't structure it in such a way that it's actually putting money in their pocket,
Yes.
rather than taking massive chunks out of their pocket, which means that they live on baked beans and dog food while they try to build an investment portfolio, throw their arms up in the air 3 or 4 years in, bail out, lose money, and never return. So that affordability piece is really key to that sustainability. Then there's mindset, and mindset's the big one, Caroline. That's the one that I sort of touched on already. But for me, it comes down to what I call the 6 Ps, and they are purpose, perspective, plan, proactive, probability, performance, patience, and persistence. So you need to be clear on your purpose, and that needs to be supported by a perspective that is exactly how you want to live. Then you need to create a plan of how you're going to get from where you are now to there. Then you need to be proactive by implementing the action to make sure that it's happening, and be comfortable with the probability risk comfort level, or your sleep at night factor. That's really key. Then you need to monitor the performance of your investment and then most importantly, have the patience and persistence to stay the course, see it through, and ignore the noise from the negative media and other short-term fluctuations that are going to occur. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So mindset's really key. And then the I is for income. And what I mean by that is you need to have an income to create an income. If you're going to invest initially, I'd see too many people jump off the cliff, give up their job, think they're going to become a full-time trader or a full-time investor. And they snooker themselves because then their float dries up. They don't have the time or the income to sustain it, and then they end up bailing out early. So that having an income to create an income is really key. And then the N is for network. So it's, you know, that old saying that your network is your net worth. Absolutely key.
I haven't heard that.
Haven't you really? I tell you what, I learned this the hard way, because when I started trading and investing, I didn't trust anyone. I thought I'd reinvent the wheel. I tried to do it all myself. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I made some absolute balls ups. There's no question about it. I really learned some hard and extensive lessons early on. But as I grew, I started to realise that I needed to be the dumbest person in the room. So, and that was pretty easy for me, Caroline. So I surrounded myself with really good people. So accountants, financial planners, in the property side, it's project managers, buyers agents, investment advisors. I read every conceivable book that I could get my hands on, and two of the really instructive books that have helped me along the way early on were to grab Chris Tate's and Louise Bedford's books, as well as Van Tharp's books. I find Van Tharp really instructive. So if
we interviewed Van Tharp way back, I haven't really heard him in the flesh, but awesome book that really put into perspective and the psychology and learning to develop a system where you can have more losses than wins, but still be in front. There's some really essential learnings in that. So having that network around you is really key. And in the property side, which is sort of parallel to what we're talking about trading here, you're not a player in the game, you just manage your managers. So that's a real key. I think successful investing and successful trading is an elite team sport. So you need to surround yourself with really good mentors and other players in the game to make sure that you're learning from them, and therefore coming up with a plan that works for you, because there is no holy grail. There's no one size fits all fantastic system. You've got to match your personality to what the market's doing to really take advantage of it. So that network's really important. And the final piece, and probably the most important piece as well, is the strategy, or I call it strategy for most people, because you really need to be clear on the roadmap of where do you want to get to, where are you now, and what capability do you have, both physically and mentally, and then construct a GPS that's going to allow you to move from where you are to where you want to be. And that's all for today's interview. Stay tuned to hear part 2 of Bushy Martin's interview on how to become a successful investor and build passive income. I'm Caroline Stephen. Take care. As always, if you like this show, please be sure to tell a friend. This is super important because word of mouth is the most powerful way that people can get in touch with us. You can also subscribe on Apple Podcast and make sure you give us a big fat 5-star review because it helps people find us. You'll also notice that Talking Trading doesn't use sponsors and barely advertisers. This is because Chris Tate and Louise Bedford fund this show from tradinggame.com.au. If you'd like to get Louise's 5-part free e-course, register at tradinggame.com.au. So until next week, happy trading. The views represented on Talking Trading are general in nature and do not take into account your objectives, financial situation or needs. Before acting on any of the information, consider its appropriateness in regards to your own